Hi guys, welcome back to Seduce Me. Yeah, I know it's been a while, but I guess I'm ready to go. On another note, the quality is gonna be a little less than. It's not gonna be that good because my headphones broke. So until I purchase some new ones, you're gonna probably hear like a little filter of what I'm like recording. So I guess let's get through it and see how it goes. Surprisingly, the rest of the school day went off without another incident. I went to my classes, had lunch, and was anxious to get home. As the bell rang for school to end, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. Huh? A text? From Dad? I'll be picking you up today. Make sure you're ready to go when I get there. That's kind of a surprise. I quickly headed back to my locker and got my things before waiting for Naomi and Suzu.
Hey, are you ready to go?
Actually, my dad's picking me up.
Really? Okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. We'll drive home together next time. Tell your dad that we've got you covered from now on.
Yeah, alright. Even while I laughed, something didn't seem right. My dad texted me to say this. Why was he going to pick me up? Had I done something wrong? I didn't know. I waved Naomi and Suzu goodbye before heading off to the usual spot where my dad picks me up. I took the time to listen to my music while I waited. I need to go to another Rise of the Phoenix concert. Eventually, I had played the entire album with no one showing up. What the hey? Dad's never late, especially not this late. I quickly dialed my dad's phone number again. Excuse me. But as soon as I pressed call, it disconnected and read a signal disconnection error message. What the? No signal error. How do I not have signal? I double-checked my phone and saw all 5 bars from signal. He must be in a dead zone. Before I could finish, a group of hands grabbed at my hands, feet, and covered my mouth. I screamed into the hand over my mouth, struggling to pull away from the hands grabbing at my limbs. It felt disgusting and scary, feeling their hands on me. I needed it to stop.
Hey! Don't dirty up Malix's prey!
The voice, which sent a fearful shiver down my spine, whispered into my ear.
You're coming with me, Miss Anderson.
I couldn't fathom what was happening. Before I knew it, I was blindfolded and all my limbs were quickly tied up. I felt myself being carried somewhere. I was shoved into something that echoed the interior of a bus or a van. The doors closed and off I was taken, unsure where I was going and why. All I knew was that I was in trouble. All I saw was darkness. I felt numb as I was taken to a place I didn't know of. I couldn't even move my lips to scream. Sounds zipped past my ears, first from the interior of a car, then the outside, then an echoey space with whispers and cackles of people vibrating through it. However, the wraps around my eyes was eventually removed from my face and my bonds were cut. It took a while for my eyes to adjust, but I found myself in a warehouse, surrounded by devils, including Malix, who was smirking at me.
Nicely done! I'm sure those little shits will come running to find you when they realize you didn't return to your precious little mansion. They'll search everywhere for you.
Malix walked over and set the barrel of his gun against the skin between my eyes.
It'll be so funny when they find your dead body instead.
All of a sudden, a bright purple light engulfed the room, causing the devils around me, including Eris and Malix, to cover themselves.
What the?
Gusts of wind rushed past me, almost forcing me back. I covered my face with my arms, bracing myself and standing my ground. I tried to peek through my arms to see what was going on, but the light continued to shine brightly. As the gust slowly started to die, the light began to fade, revealing a very pissed-off Sam. Sam!
Don't worry. I got you.
At that moment, Sam didn't even give Malix a chance to breathe. As I blinked, I saw Sam's fist ram itself into Malix's cheek, sending the devil flying back against the wall of the warehouse we were in. Am I recording? Yes, I'm recording. Ooh! Not gonna have another one of those accidents. Alright.
You motherfucker!
Sam was relentless. He quickly followed Malix to the wall and began slamming his fist onto his body. Malex's body began to form onto the wall as Malex was speaking in. The remaining doubles stared, trying to figure out what to do. Help Malex or watch in silence. Aristella walked up beside me and crossed her arms as she watched with an amused smirk on her face. So much for camaraderie. Yeah. Everybody for himself.
Get off!
With a blast of heat, Sam was forced back from Malex. Sam slid on the balls of his feet, covering his face from the burst of heat that forced him back. Malex, on the other hand, was practically on fire. His menacing eyes glared deadly daggers at Sam as Malex gripped his gun.
You're dead, Incubus!
Malex pried himself from the wall and began to fire hot bullets at Sam. However, none of the shots made it to Sam's body. In a blink of an eye, Sam had disappeared from his spot and reappeared at Malex's side, ready to lay a heavy punch to Malex's head.
Too slow!
Malex, though, wasn't as slow as Sam thought. Malex quickly turned to shoot at Sam, who barely had the time to dodge it. It quickly turned into a fight of Sam using his speed to dodge and trying to hit Malex, and Malex using his gun and devil-like skills to try and lock onto Sam's appearing form. It was almost too fast to follow, and also it's really long-winded. However, I could tell something inside Sam had changed. He wasn't holding anything back in this fight. It was as if something incredibly demonic had taken a hold of him and forced each punch he threw and each step he made. Was this the extent of demon power? I didn't have a chance to answer myself. As Sam tried to dodge Malex, Sam tripped and landed on one knee with a loud thump.
Gotcha, bitch!
I gasped in horror. Sam had no chance to dodge or run. I could only stare, petrified as Malex charged forward and jammed the barrel of his gun into Sam's mouth. Brutal.
Eat hellfire, Incubus!
Then at that moment, something in the air changed. The air instantly went from frantic to still and energy. What could have been described in tone as the color red quickly turned into a deadly mix of purple and green as everything began to blend together all at once. My eyes never strayed from Sam's face, however, even as it changed. They began to glow and glow a brighter golden color as Sam began to bite down on the gun in his mouth. As the trigger was pulled, the gun was snapped in two between Sam's teeth. He's got some strong teeth there. Small fragments of the gun flew everywhere, while the look on Malex's face went from confused to petrified. Yeah, because he just bit a gun in half. Before Malex could utter a single response, Sam let out a giant animalistic roar, sending waves of fear down my spine and tackled Malex to the ground. I stared at Sam as Sam began to slam punches to Malex's face, right at one after the other. Sam's steel began to morph and shift with each punch, changing from human to something else. Before I was allowed to see Sam's new form, however, a pair of hands quickly covered my eyes. Instinctively, I reached up and gripped him, trying to pull him off. A voice stopped.
It's me. Don't look.
I don't think I want to look. I listened carefully and let the last words linger in my mind. Don't look. Why? Why was this being hidden from me? I wanted to know, but something told me to obey Damien's command. I could still hear Sam screaming and grunting with each punch he rammed into his mouth, his face and the occasional cracking of bone and blood spatter echoing in the air. Maybe it was better that I wasn't able to see.
That's enough, Sam!
Yeah. Almost instantly after James' command, the sound stopped. The only thing anyone could hear then was Sam's pants and grunts for air.
Malex is dead, and you've lost your glamour spell.
Shut up.
Glamour spell? What did he mean? Why did Sam sound so different? Why was this being hidden from me?
It's a spell that makes us look human.
Thank you, Damien. I froze. Looked human? They didn't look like humans after all? What did they look like?
Like demons.
As if Matthew knew that what Damien was talking about, Matthew spoke up, followed by the sound of a cork popping out of a bottle.
Well, not for much longer. Here. Let's go. You gotta regain your glamour spell and you're all out of energy. Come on.
Fine. Whatever.
I could hear the small clinking of glass being passed before hearing Sam guzzle down a liquid of some sort. The feel of the air around me gently began to warm back up, insinuating that everything had returned back to normal. Finally, Damien moved his hands from his eyes, allowing me to see around me once again. The devils, including Eris, had fled. On top of Malix's body was a dirty sheet that was quickly turning red from blood. Yeah. Let me think. Which one of his deaths was more brutal? I think I'm gonna have to go with Sam's. I could see that Malix's face was completely caved in, making a dip in the blanket. The boys, however, had gathered around me, all of them, including Sam, looking like nothing had happened. I certainly would feel traumatized after that. What just... I tried to speak, but everything zipped around me in my head, and the whole event that I felt like speaking wasn't possible.
Let's just get you home, miss. There's nothing more to see here.
I could only nod. What had happened boggled my mind to the point of disbelief. I was second-guessing everything, lost in a sea of what and how and when. As we walked into the warehouse, I looked to Sam for some form of sign that I wasn't dreaming. Sam kept his eyes down and away from me. It was over. Malix was gone and the boys were finally safe. A wave of relief ran through my body at the thought of never having to deal with that group again. At the same time, a ping of realization hit the back of my mind. The boys were only going to stay until after Malix was defeated. That was our deal. As we approached home, I could feel something heavy way down on my heart. It was late, but the boys led me inside and turned on the lights in the lobby.
Finally, we can relax.
It will be good to have some rest without devils breathing down our necks.
I'm just tired. Can I hit the hay early?
I think some sleep would be good for all of us.
I looked to Damien, knowing he could read my mind, and frowned. I didn't want him to know what my thoughts were on the situation. Yeah, bed sounds good. I wanted to just end tonight. Too much had happened, and I felt dizzy just trying to figure it out. However, Damien spoke up, stopping all of us from moving.
Should we be gone in the morning?
Nope. The air became still and tension. The realization of the situation hit the boys like a wave, forcing them to turn to me in curiosity. They had remembered their deal, and were now awaiting me to decide their fate. I gulped face to face with the reality of the situation. The boys were leaving it up to me. They looked like they were willing to accept whatever I had demanded. It was only fair, though, after all that had happened. I looked to Sam, feeling my heart flutter in my chest. I didn't want him to leave, but would he ask to stay? I hoped that he would say no and ask me to stay longer. As if he knew what I wanted, Sam moved and stepped to me, putting his hands in his pocket and looking down to the ground. He was still ashamed of what he had done, but he spoke to me regardless.
Hey, I kinda... I wanted to thank you for your energy and stuff. Well, I kinda want to stay here. Can we stay here? Please?
My heart skipped while a large blush ran across my cheeks. The boy stared at Sam wide-eyed, but didn't dare to speak out. Sam stepped back to give me space, returning to where he was. I moved my gaze across each boy, trying to make a decision. If they left in the morning, I would never see them again, and my life could return to normal. If I did decide to let them go, that would have been for the best. No goodbyes, no delays. But did I want to? They had done so much for me in a small amount of time. I let them stay. I wanted them to stay. I wanted him to stay. I merely smiled, staring at the man that I had come to have feelings for before speaking at last. I would love it if you all could stay. The boys cheered tiredly, but nonetheless enthusiastically. I giggled at the sight. It was cute to see everyone so excited, despite the tiredness that ran equally through our bodies. Today was a rough day. My home is your home, as long as you can still help with chores. The boys nodded in unison, agreeing to the terms I had set for them. Despite the good situation, I felt myself slowly slipping into unconsciousness. However, James quickly clapped his hands together, getting everyone's attention and waking me up, making sure I didn't pass out on the floor.
All right, everyone. We're all very tired, so let's head to bed, shall we?
Oh! Yeah, sleep is actually a thing. Right.
We've had a very long day, but it will be good to just relax tonight and tomorrow.
Sleep sounds really good right now.
Yeah, man.
I watched a happy smile grow onto Sam's lips. He shared my excitement, knowing we could be together longer. Who knew how long we would stay together? All I cared was that I would be with him. The others quickly left to finally rest, leaving me and Sam alone at last. People just don't know when to stop being crazy drivers outside. Anyways, my heart blurred a bit as Sam walked closer to me, looking to his feet. He was nervous, but it was really cute to see him that way, so I didn't do anything but smile.
Hey, thanks for letting us stay.
You're welcome, Sam. I'm happy to have you stay here. I watched his smile brighten a bit before he cleared his throat and looked up at me with a serious face. I didn't know if it was a tiredness or my growing attachment to him, but I felt myself sway a bit on my feet. However, Sam's face made it clear that he wanted to say something else, making me forget that my dad was also calling for me.
Listen, about what happened at the warehouse.
Yeah, that was some creepy stuff. I mean, all your brothers are pretty dangerous. But who says that danger is bad for you? A little danger never hurt anybody. Except for the bad guys. And maybe your friends almost. No, it's fine. You did what you had to do. I understand. I had accepted everything that happened and knew that Sam had to do what he had to do. He was real, and he was someone I didn't want to be without, even if that meant nodding against my curiosity. Besides, I was too tired to explore that memory further. Sam nodded before holding out a hand to me.
Come on, let's get you to bed.
I nodded before Sam gently lifted me up in his arms like a bride and carried me to my room. I am a strong, independent woman, and I can take care of myself. I don't need to be carried around like a damsel all the time. No, whatever. I nodded before, yep. I didn't want to leave his arms, leaning my head against Sam's chest, but eventually I was slowly lowered to my bed and covered with my bed covers. I was still in my school clothes, but I was too tired to strip or care. I looked to Sam, fighting a yawn from escaping me as he gently ran a hand over my hair. Okay, I'll admit that I can be kind of a sap for those kind of things, but I'm also a realist. Is that even possible? I don't know.
Get some sleep, alright? I'll make some breakfast again for you in the morning.
Oh, that was you? How I had no clue. Not at all. I nodded with a tired smile before watching him slowly stand and leave my room, closing the door. A wave of happiness washed over me as I laid in bed. I made a good choice. Sure, it would be hard, but I could tell that it would be able to manage it. Help around the house and being with a man whom I was slowly starting to fall for would be worth it. I slowly felt my exhaustion take over me. I let sleep consume me as I drifted into the darkness in my mind. Everything was peaceful. I was happy.
You are an interesting creature.
I opened my eyes to see a woman staring down at me with a very sly smirk on her face. I opened my mouth to scream in fright, but a hand quickly covered my mouth.
No screaming now. Too early, silly girl.
I could only stare up at the woman above me. I still felt weak, not having the strength to move and fight her off. She was very beautiful, but I felt more anger than amazement.
Why do the boys like you? You're unique, yes, but that can't be all that you have going for you.
Rage began to consume my core again. This woman, whoever she was making me mad. She must have known as she let out another smirk grow onto her face.
Ooh, you're feisty. That could be why.
Before I could bite her hand in anger, she removed her hand from my lips, standing up and staring down at me as if from her place next to my bed. I quickly sat up and glared daggers at the intruder. Who the hell are you, and why are you in my room? The one began to laugh, making the rage inside me increase. I wanted to punch her, but I waited for her answer.
How silly of me. I forgot that we demons are not well known of in your world. You can call me Diana, little human.
Diana? Demon? You're a demon?
I am. But I'm much more than just an average demon.
What do you mean?
Silly girl. I'm a succubus.
I stared at Diana in shock. A succubus? First incubi, now a succubus? Great! I now have met both genders of sex demons. Diana crossed her arms under her bosom and looked at my body.
Well, you are pretty. But you seem very reckless. Too reckless.
I am not reckless. At least not this playthrough, I don't think. I moved out and stood from the bed, still glaring daggers at Diana. Why are you here?
Oh, I just wanted to see who my competition was.
Competition?
For the boys, of course. They don't belong here, and yet here they remain. I want to know why, and remedy this little issue.
This girl was seriously pissing me off. Issue? What issue? They want to stay here so they can.
Silly, uneducated human. You don't understand the important roles these boys play in the abyssal planes. You keeping them here is practically imprisonment.
You have about 10 seconds to leave.
Is that a threat? How cute. What are you going to do? Kill me?
And if I do?
You barely have the strength to stand, little human. I can rip the rest of your energy out and knock you into a coma. You'll never be able to wake up again.
Touch me and I'll...
Enjoy every minute of it.
I felt my body freeze and heat up in an almost painful haze. My mind began to feel fuzzy as Diana stepped to me and caressed my cheek.
Now, you're going to listen to everything I say without any questions. Got it?
No, that's not how it works. I nodded.
Good. I plan to bring the boys back to the abyssal planes. Why? So that I can take my place as queen of their realm. They have no reason to be here in this silly little world, so I'm going to make sure they return home. Okay, Pumpkin?
I nodded but growled. My rage couldn't be concealed despite the hold I was under. You evil bitch.
Call me evil all you want, dearie. I'm not evil. You're just in my way.
I felt Diana lean into my ear and whisper, making me unconsciously shiver into both pleasure and annoyance.
Now, be a good little human and go to bed. I'll make sure they're gone before you get home tomorrow from school, so make sure to say goodbye in the morning.
I felt my body move on its own to lay in bed and cover itself with my bed sheets. I glared at Diana the entire way down. Diana laughed at my futility. I'll get you.
Oh, please do.
All of a sudden, her voice deepened and became cold and demonic, sending a violent, scared shiver down my spine. Her red eyes practically illuminated in the darkness of my room as she glared at me.
Give me a reason to make your life a living hell.
I gritted my teeth, trying to fight back the hold against the hole on me. She couldn't have been that tough. She needed energy to survive, right? I was sure she couldn't have had enough to hold me down forever. Diana then laughed and returned normal.
Oh, and make sure you don't tell the boys I was here. I want my visit to be a surprise.
I felt the hold on me disappear, allowing me to sit up and practically growl at Diana in rage. What's stopping me?
Then you must not care about your friends and family as much as you care for the boys.
I stopped and stared. What did she mean by that? Was that a threat to my family? Diana smirked at me, knowing the confusion behind my eyes.
Let's just say that If you tell the boys about me, I'll make sure that no one will care for you, and you'll be all alone in this little house until the day you die.
I could feel fear creeping into me. Alone? How could she do that? The word demon reverberated in my head, reminding me that I was facing off against something supernatural. A human with a shield versus the devil was one thing. A human on her own versus a demon was another thing. Yep.
Have a good night.
And with that, Diana sank into the floor through a magic purple pentagram, which vanished as her head vanished into the floor. I couldn't believe it. I had one problem, and now I had another. Instead of a crazy psycho devil who wanted to kill me and the boys, I had a succubus wanting to ruin my life and take the boys away. First world problems, yeah, you know. Could my life get any worse? No, I wasn't going to let her win. She's not as powerful as she looks, I know it. I had to mentally confirm it. She wasn't going to win. The boys wanted to stay with me. So you think. I let out a sigh before closing my eyes, affirming my plan of action. No matter what she was going to do, I was going to beat her. Eventually, the morning arrived and the sun screamed at me to get up. Surprisingly, I woke up before my alarm clock once again, which was nice. I stretched out and quickly got dressed, getting ready for the day. She expects me to say goodbye to the boys? Well, I will say good morning, and we'll see them when I get back. No way I'm going to say goodbye. I scooped up my bag and headed downstairs to the dining room, seeing the boys already eating a delicious selection of food. The smell made my stomach growl wildly at the sight of food, drew me to walk further into the room.
Good morning, miss. Did you sleep well?
Not at all. Before I could lie, hiding the incident in the back of my mind, Damien furrowed his eyebrows and stopped eating.
She's here.
The boys looked at Damien in confusion while I cursed his ability to silently in my mouth. Bleh.
Damien, what's up with you? Of course she's here. She kinda owns the house.
Let me save real quick. Here we are. Yes. Back. Damien looked to me, wanting to explain for me. Blah? No. Damien looked to me, wanting me to explain for him. However, the threats that Diana gave me last night wanted to keep my mouth shut. Diana. Damien pressed his lips together in a fine line. The other boys looked at me with a raised eyebrow. A girl named Diana came by last night.
Diana? Is she important?
Did she try to hurt you?
She's a succubus. The simple word made the boys stop and stare at me. I looked at each boy, unsure of what went through their minds. Should I have avoided it?
So, she's come to try and bring us back.
She must really be desperate.
Well, what should we do now?
Nothing. She'll give up eventually.
Will she?
The boys continued to look at me as if I knew the answer to that question. Damn it, Damien. She said if I told you, she might make my life a living hell. She can't possibly do that, right? She's not a devil.
No, she isn't. However, she is a very powerful demon.
She's a master of mind manipulation and has been trained in illusion. Unlike other demons who use strength to get power, she uses her charisma.
She has the power to make armies bow to her and obey her every whim. That's why she's so obsessed with us.
What? What do you mean?
Well, she sorta has family ties to us. She was promised to marry one of us in exchange for more power.
She's just some whacked up hussy who doesn't know how to close her legs. She's not a real threat.
Oh, really? I feel insulted.
The boys and I looked around the room, wondering where the voice had come from. I felt cold sweat run down the back of my neck in fear, remembering what kind of power she had. At last, we saw Diana by the entrance of the kitchen, juggling a single red apple in her hand as she leaned against the archway. The boys quickly surrounded me, glaring at the intruder.
So, you took up a human name as well.
Beautiful name, isn't it? Well, for a human name, anyway.
What the hell do you want?
To bring you back, of course. However, you weren't supposed to know that I was coming. I completely forgot about that little mind-reading ability. My mistake.
Diana put pushed off the archway and walked towards us, making the boys step closer to me in a protective circle. Diana laughed.
My, my, my. What has the world come to? A group of demons protecting a human girl? I'll tell you right now, she's not that pretty. And from what I can tell, she's still a virgin.
My face grew red in complete anger and embarrassment. How dare she? No, I'm gonna be passive. Diana chuckled and smirked at me, knowing that I wanted to hit her but had control of myself.
Such control you have, human. You know your place very well.
I didn't control the growl that escaped my throat, however.
Well, will you all change your minds? I assure you, it's for the greater good.
I expected the boys to say no. What I heard was complete silence. None of the boys replied to Diana, which made me both nervous and fearful as to why. Diana leaned her head back a bit, surprised for a different reason.
No? Well, I see.
Was silence truly them saying no to her? I looked around at the boys and saw their disobedience in their eyes, giving me my answer. I felt my heart flutter, especially when my eyes landed on Sam. He kept close to me, glaring daggers into Diana. I could feel that he was completely adamant in his choice to stay. I don't know what, but I was incredibly happy to know he wanted to stay. Diana sighed and placed a finger into her temple, rubbing it gently.
Either all of you are playing a very convincing hard-to-get game, or you all must be out of your minds.
Diana then looked to me, locking her gaze with mine as if to read me. I could tell she wanted me to do something, but the boys would stop her, so the stare was only her available action. After a small moment of silence, Diana licked her lips before breaking the gaze battle and smiling at the boys around me.
Very well. I guess I'll take my leave now.
Wait. Whew. Excuse. Okay. What? Her leave? Was she serious? The boys around me straightened up and grew confused looks on their faces as Diana stepped back and away from us with a small bow, flaunting her cleavage. Without another word, a deep purple pentagram appeared under her feet, and Diana's body slowly sank into the floor. As her head vanished into the floor, the pentagram vanished. At once, the boys relaxed and slowly began to return to their spots at the table, each in deep thought.
She'll be back, but she won't kill us. She needs us alive.
Whatever. We'll just keep saying no. She can't force us to come back.
She can't do anything but annoy us. Eventually, she'll give up.
That's the hope, anyway.
Hopefully. Sam walked over to me and placed a hand on my shoulder, looking at me with concern.
If she comes after you, you need to tell us, okay?
I nodded, knowing that he wanted to protect me. Sam gently took his hand from my shoulder and very gently moved a strand of hair from my face, however, making me blush and forget what I was thinking about. The sound of collective chuckles and playful snickers whispered through the air, making me blush even more. As Sam grunted in reply, the laughter stopped. I looked up to see he was glaring at his brothers, a fist forming in his hand, ready to swing at one of them. He and I pulled away from each other just as the sound of Naomi's car appeared. I quickly ate my food, said bye to the boys, and left, confident that nothing was going to happen. But of course, it's never that simple. Never, ever say that nothing will happen before the day is over. I avoided talking about the ride back home yesterday, saying that the ride was a one-time thing. I'll be riding with you guys from now on, and to and from school. See how many minutes I've been playing. Okay, I still got some time. The girls seemed very happy. As we entered the school, quickly gathered our things from our lockers and headed to class. There were no events, to our surprise. History wasn't exactly fun, but our teacher was great. At least he would have been great if he was in class that day. Naomi and Susie took their seats around me, Susie in front of me and Naomi beside me, before the class bell rang and the class was greeted by the dean.
Students, you'll be having a substitute for class today. Everyone meet
Miss Diana.
My heart stopped. At the door with the dean was Diana, looking over the students and smirking as her eyes landed on me. She strutted to the teacher's desk, ignoring or welcoming the whispers from the other students, before sitting on the wood and crossing her legs.
Thank you, Dean. You can go now.
With a wave of Diana's hand, the dean left the classroom, closed the door, and left the area. Dan smiled at us, making my stomach turn. What was she going to do?
So, history. History. Such a silly thing, isn't it? I mean, what do we care about the past? We're in the present.
The rest of the class, including Naomi and Suzu, hesitantly nodded in agreement, unsure about this new teacher, but willing to listen to more than what she had to say.
The present is so full of wonderful things. While the labors of the past are the reason we have many things, it is our chance and privilege to utilize what has been given to us.
Her charm was almost infectious. The class was practically starting to eat out of her hand. I looked around to see classmates grinning and agreeing with Diana. I pressed my lips together as I listened further. I had no choice.
What's even funnier about human beings is that some of the bits of history we hear is either made up or completely biased to one side. It's like a story you read as a child. You hear of the princess and the prince, and they live happily ever after. But what about the family she left behind? What of her friends?
The students listened and agreed intently to her words. I could tell, however, that these words were all targeted at me.
The original story of The Little Mermaid, a perfect example of biased opinion. Here we have a girl who thinks she can be with this prince, but this prince has to marry a princess. What would happen if the mermaid had her way? What makes the mermaid so important that the princess has to suffer the consequences?
It doesn't matter what happens to the princess. The rest of the class turned their heads to me. Naomi and Suzu looked at me with equally surprised looks. I kept my eyes to Diana. If I was the mermaid, I wasn't going to let the princess take my prince away. Diana stared at me before smiling and turning her body to fully face me.
Oh? And why does it not matter?
The story isn't about the princess. The story is about the mermaid and the prince.
Ah, but that is exactly my point. While the story talks about the mermaid and the prince's romance, we don't see the problems of the kingdom the prince rules. While we are all fixated with this love story, we ignore the fact the kingdom would fall apart without the marriage between the prince and princess.
That was never explicitly said, so nope. She kept her eyes to me as she spoke. I knew she wanted to make her words stick in my mind, but I didn't listen. It was one thing to be a fictional story, it's another to try and ruin someone's life for selfishness. Diana chuckled and looked back to the class.
Well, luckily in the real story of The Little Mermaid, the mermaid knows that what she was doing was wrong, and she threw herself into the ocean, turning into sea foam.
Some of the students that surrounded me mumbled in surprise, obviously not knowing the real story. However, Diana was wrong once again. That's not true. Once again, the class looked to me, and Diana faced me with another smile.
Not true. How so?
The trade-off for becoming human was marrying the prince or turning into sea foam. However, she was given the choice to kill the prince and turn back into a mermaid. The mermaid didn't because she loved him and sacrificed herself for that love. That story is worth telling. Not some princess getting her way, but of a tragedy that had befallen on a girl who only wanted love. The class applauded me, with Suzu giving me her usual punch to my shoulder and Naomi smiling at my logic. Diana, however, finally grew and almost angered-faced at me.
Interesting. So what you are saying is that the princess should be given no mind.
The story is not about the princess. The story is about the mermaid, and the mermaid should have gotten her prey. The story is about the mermaid, and the mermaid should have gotten her prince.
Even at the risk of a kingdom falling apart?
Even if the entire world fell apart around them, duty does not overrule love, and the princess needs to realize this. Ouch. I think I twisted my ankle. The applause that followed that intensified with whoops and hollers. I felt a wave of confidence roll through my body. Diana wasn't going to win. I wasn't going to let her. Diana then stopped talking and looked to the clock on the wall, reading it quickly. This class had just barely begun. Why was she looking at it at the time? There. Dana then leaned against the blackboard and smiled to us. I became worried.
You know what? School isn't important. Everyone, go ahead and head home. Take the week off.
The students suddenly began to chat happily or in confusion of the situation. Many thought it was a dream come true. Others knew better. Before anyone could protest, however, Diana pressed his finger to her lips and counted down with her fingers in the air. 3, 2, 1. The speakers of the classroom gently awoke, giving us an announcement we would never believe.
Attention students! Due to an emergency faculty meeting, we will be closing school for the remainder of the day and this entire week. Please leave the school quickly and quietly and have a good rest of the week.
She used her powers on them. Damn it! I felt like the need to stop her, but how could I stop a demon in the middle of a public area? Diana smiled before gesturing to the door.
Have a nice week off. School will resume next week.
Many of the students filed out, chatting to each other about new impromptu plans. Susan was beyond happy, but Naomi was hesitant. Before we could pack up and leave, however, Diana stepped to us.
Excuse me, little miss. I'd like you to stay a little while. There's something we need to discuss.
As Diana looked to Suzu and Naomi, she snapped her fingers, making my friends tense up.
You two can head home. Don't worry about your friend until next week, okay? If you contact her, she won't reply, so don't bother. If she contacts you, ignore her, because she's just fine.
As if on command, Susan and Naomi left the room. I tried to march after them, but Diana stepped in my pathway, warning me with her eyes that if I followed, they would be hell to pay. I had lost my 2 friends, at least for the week. As she wanted, Diana and I were alone. I slammed my hands on the desk in front of me and glared at Diana. What are you doing and what are you thinking?
What? Do I not make a good teacher? I figured you should have a little lesson, so I took matters into my own hands.
Whatever you're trying to do won't work.
You really think so, dear? And what makes you so sure about that?
What was making me so sure? Why was I confident? Were the boys worth this? My thoughts began to fill with doubt. All the uncertainties about the whole ordeal began to cloud my mind. If the boys were ever found out, there'd be hell to pay. Was it worth it? What about Diana? What would she do to me? Would she make my parents forget about me completely? Would she ruin my friends' lives out of spite? In my gut, I felt a stone of confidence try to fight back, but the heaviness of my thoughts began to dissolve that stone little by little. What was going on with me? I looked up to Diana once again to see her gaze boring into my eyes. She was using her powers on me. This time I was away from home, so I couldn't escape. Or could I? Did I want to? The way she stared at me made me feel warm and fuzzy inside my chest. I felt like melting. Diana lifted a hand under my chin and ran her thumb over my lips, licking her own. I could feel her little shots of energy zipping from under my skin into my chin where she held me.
Now, let's have a little taste of that sweet, virginal sexual energy.
I watched as she leaned in, ready to kiss me and take my energy. Half of my body felt elation at the idea. The other half completely rejected it and didn't want her to even touch me. Sam! Suddenly, Diana stopped in her tracks.
Sam? Who is...
It then dawned on her.
Ah, one of the boys. Why don't you tell me which boy is Sam?
I felt myself nod in compliance. The third. Diana giggled in reply before letting go of my face and stepping back.
Really? The brute? With you?
I nodded once again, but this time partly in my own decision to reply. Diana let out a sound that mirrored a cat's purr before stepping back away from me.
All right, then. Well, if it's the brute you're infatuated with, you should really rethink your romantic options.
Diana chuckled before kissing my nose, where I felt a shot of energy zap out of my body, almost making me dizzy and recoil. Diana then turned to the desk and sat on the wood, crossing her legs.
You can go now. Remember, no class for the rest of the week.
I wonder what she plans to use school for. it never came to that. Aside from just moving the plot along. And how am I supposed to get home? My 2 friends left me here thanks to you.
Oh, were they your ride? My apologies. Let me help then.
It's not that difficult to take the bus. Diana then lifted her hand and snapped her fingers. I suddenly felt the floor sink from underneath me, forcing me to look down. A purple pentagram surrounded my feet, pulling me into the ground. Whoa! Before I could fight, however, I sank fully into the floor, fading into darkness and shutting my eyes. As I opened them, I felt my silk sheets around me, soothing my anxiety from the darkness that had previously surrounded me. I can't speak today. What the? Why did Diana bring me home? Was this an illusion? Was I being tricked? Something was going on. I sat up in bed, looking around me. I was indeed in my room. There was no mistake about that. Why? Diana is too strange. Was this a game? Was this part of her plan to get the boys back? I was lost and confused more than ever, despite my logical thought, trying to piece the puzzle that Diana is together. The more I tried to solve her, the less I understood about the situation I was in. I was interrupted, however, by my door suddenly opening, revealing the boys with Damien's hand on the doorknob.
Miss, what are you doing here?
Aren't you supposed to be in school?
I furrowed my eyebrows and stared at Damien, asking him to answer their questions through my thoughts.
Diana sent her back here. She invaded her school and sent all the students back home.
What is that bitch up to? Seriously! Diana's playing around for no reason.
Maybe it's part of her plan.
What plan? The boys continued to argue back and forth about Diana, feeling an almost jealous curiosity in me. Damien seemed to be deep within talking to not notice my thoughts. For he didn't even stop talking alongside his brothers. Why was Diana after them? Why did she want to bring them back? What was important about the boys that she would travel to the human world to get them? What was going on? I decided enough was enough. I needed answers. Hey! The boys stopped arguing, staring at me in surprise. I held my hands and fists in my lap, mustering a courage to continue to speak despite my abrupt shout. Why is Diana here? Why does she want to bring you all back? What exactly did you all run from? Why did you run from it?
Miss,
Don't miss me, please. I need to know what's going on. I won't be left in the dark about this. I want to know what I'm facing. The boys looked at me. I looked at each other hesitantly, unsure what to reply. Finally, Sam pulled Damien towards the bed, making him buckle and land on his knees with his torso over the edge of the mattress.
Damien, do the thing.
The thing? What thing?
Sam, you're not suggesting.
Why not? She deserves to know everything, especially if Diana is targeting her.
Sam's right.
I guess we have no choice then.
I was getting confused. What was Damien about to do? Damien stood before, climbing onto the bed with me, sitting across from me on his knees.
We're going to show you everything. You have to trust me, okay? The minute you stop trusting me, the vision will stop.
Vision?
You want to know, right? Trust him.
I looked to Sam, unsure what was going on, but I nodded. If this was the only way to learn, then this was my chance to know. Damien gently placed his hands on each side of my head, gently pressing his thumbs into the skin of my eyebrows. I could only stare at Damien as his eyes began to glow gold and energy began to be both pulled out of me and forced into my head. Within seconds, my vision went black once again. I was unsure of what Damien was doing, but soon shapes and textures slowly began to appear around me. I found myself sitting on a stone floor in the middle of what looked like a fantasy throne room. Where am I? I looked down at myself, standing only to see my body as translucent as a ghost. Whoa! I jumped and inspected my hands in a sudden panic. I was see-through. Why? What was going on?
How dare they try to negotiate with me? Do they not know whom they speak to?
I gasped and ran behind a nearby pillar, away from the voice. The sound of his anger and words frightened every bone in my body, turning me into a frightened child.
My lord, please calm yourself. Calm? They're merely testing my resolve. I have more than half of a mind to send my greatest armies to take what should be mine. They are mere insects in the way of my kingdom's expansion.
His voice kind of reminds me of an older Sam.
They merely asked for a marriage joining.
So I'm to bow to them and share my land that I have so rightfully conquered?
I peeked from behind the pillar to see a large demon covered in royal clothes, but buff enough to be a military commander. His rage practically emanated from his body as he growled at his servant.
They are willing to give their land to you, sire. All they ask is for one of your sons to marry their daughter, whom I might add is as beautiful as can be.
This is ridiculous! To suggest that I need their approval to take their land is beyond insanity. What makes them think I care about their precious daughter?
Did I mention that she is a prodigy of her kind, sire?
A prodigy?
Yes, my lord. This succubus is a master of her skills in magic and mind manipulation. She is said to sway armies with a snap of her fingers, despite being as young as she is.
Impossible!
If only it were, sire. This succubus is dangerous, but would be a great asset to have should we agree to this arrangement. The only reason she cannot faze you, my lord, is because you are the strongest demon in the plains.
Is this supposed to change my mind?
Yes, my lord.
You are doing a terrible job at convincing me.
My apologies, sire.
I was lost. I could tell that they were talking about Diana, but why?
Father.
Wait, see how much time I have? Okay, still some time. I quickly turned my head to see another demon who looked like a mere child staring at the throne at the demon commander. Father?
Ah, Raystrout. Have you finished your training?
Yes, Father.
Then what do you want?
I want to be with my brothers the best of the day, Father.
The demon commander walked to the young demon and gripped his hair, picking him up off the ground and forcing him to look up at his snarl. The young demon, however, looked unfazed.
Arrogance! Why should I allow you to be with them? I should kill you for your lack of respect to me.
Because I want to be with them, Father.
I could only stare as the young demon faced his father, despite the massive difference between them. This young demon seemed weaker and easy to kill versus the demon commander. How would this man kill his son, though? Was this commander that ruthless? However, I wasn't expecting him to laugh and release the young demon.
Good! Assertive even in the face of danger. That is why you are my favorite son.
I could only stare wide as the commander placed his hand on the demon's shoulder.
Very well. Go. Tomorrow you will show me your training.
The little demon grinned widely before running off.
I have a thought.
Yes, my lord?
How old is this daughter?
As old as your 5th, sire.
Do you believe this proposal is worth it?
Yes, sire.
Tell those insects that they are safe for now. I will consider their offer.
Sire, are you certain?
Well, you were the one that just tried to convince him, and now you're backing out.
Did I stutter? Now go!
The demon servant quickly ran off, but as soon as he passed the pillar I was hiding behind, he along with the commander vanished into thin air. I should probably stop here. Yeah, we're about almost done with Sam's route, and then we're gonna do his after the Shall We Dance one, and then we're gonna move on to Matthew. And I don't know, I guess maybe I should close it up there. But I kind of want to explore the other routes too, but I don't know. We'll see. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully this doesn't backfire at me and I actually recorded. I'm pretty certain I did, but if not, that sucks. But anyways, thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!